Today's episode is about recognizing that not everybody who is with you is going to be for you. And that all sounds simple, but when it hits you in real life, when the support fades, when the people you thought would cheer you on go quiet, it shakes something in you. You start wondering if you've changed too much, if you're the problem, and that maybe your growth made you hard to love. But the truth is that your evolution didn't make you harder to love or accept. It just made you harder to use. And on top of that, seeing growth rearranges the entire room. The air is going to shift. Some people can only love you when you're doubting yourself, when you're still in the trenches trying to find your way and you don't have a lot to show for what you're working for, when you are still reachable and your dreams are still ideas and not even proof. Let me start with a personal story. I remember when I started my business, very few people believed in me. And I was really scared myself because I was transitioning from a full-time gig into running my own thing. And it just felt like a guaranteed paycheck was no longer going to be there. It was all on me now. And I had a big vision. There was this fire inside of me that said, I want more for my life and I know I can build something real. And my circle back then was mainly my family and friends that I had known since middle school or high school. And my friends and I were in the same chapter of life. We had just graduated college. We're trying to figure out our careers, navigate relationships, and also plan for the future. There was a lot of trying to figure things out. And we understood each other because we were all trying. But there's a certain bond in that. But as I started moving and I started growing in my career, climbing the corporate ladder, I then worked at a startup that was sold to Google that enabled me to turn my side hustle, which is my marketing agency, Fast Market, into a full-time venture. That shared chapter with my friends, it started closing and it started getting narrower. And so the chairs got quieter, conversations got more surface level and shorter, and the energy felt heavy. I remember my grandparents celebrated me like I'd won the lottery every time something good happened. But my immediate family, not so much. My friends, those were the ones who were saying, "You're killing it," barely asking how things were going anymore, and not even to get an invitation. While I'm celebrating them and having the capacity for it, I didn't get the invitations to go out to dinner to celebrate me, even the small gestures or handmade cards, none of that. And it wasn't that they suddenly stopped caring. It was that my growth started confronting them. It's not even that people won't celebrate you. They simply can't, because your growth is going to reflect what they have settled for and what they didn't try to do for themselves. And when I look back at that time, I see it clearly now. I was trying to bring everyone with me. Every win felt incomplete if it wasn't celebrated. I would hit a new milestone and I would send a text and get a half-hearted, "That's great," right back. And it's because when you have spent years fighting for something, working hard for something, all you want is for somebody to see it, to say you did it, and I'm so proud of you. But when I realized that that wasn't what was going to happen, it started showing me who had the capacity to meet me. When somebody cannot celebrate you, it's rarely that they're jealous of you. It's about mirrors. Your growth becomes a mirror reflecting back their inaction, their fear, and their own self-betrayal. Most people build their identity around sameness, like the shared struggle, shared limitations, and shared stories of one day I'm going to do this. But when one person in that circle breaks the pattern, it disrupts the entire ecosystem. We gauge who we are by looking around us, how we compare, how we fit, how we belong. So when success enters the picture, it messes that balance. Instead of feeling inspired, some people feel exposed by it. Your courage highlights their hesitation. Your discipline exposes their avoidance, and your expansion reminds them of every version of themselves they silenced to stay comfortable. It's like changing the music at a party. Suddenly, the ones still dancing to the old rhythm step off the floor. And it's not always conscious. Some people don't even know why they pull away. Their nervous system just says this feels off, because on a deeper level, growth feels like rejection to those who haven't chosen it yet. And your evolution signals danger to their sense of belonging. So they withdraw, they minimize, and they distance, not because they don't love you, but because staying close to you now requires them to confront the gap between who they are and who they could be. And if they're not ready to bridge that gap, your presence becomes painful. Now, here's where it gets deeper. The relationships we form in our early life can often teach us that connection is earned. It is earned through helping, through performing, and also being easy to love. So when people start pulling back, our nervous systems will immediately think that there's something wrong. It signals it as this is a threat. And then you start thinking maybe you did something wrong, that you're the problem, that maybe you're way too much, instead of asking, what does my growth bring up for them? It's the same pattern many of us grew up with, where you're the responsible one, the listener, the fixer, the one who made everything look easy. And that conditioning runs so deep. It tells you that love equals approval and that belonging requires smallness. So when your evolution threatens the dynamic, you will feel guilt, not only for growing, but for outgrowing what you once thought you were going to stay in forever. And it's like standing on a shoreline, realizing the tide that once carried you with others is now pulling you out alone. You want to swim back, but you know the current won't carry you where you're meant to go. And that is a moment that your emotional maturity begins, when you can hold the ache of being misunderstood without needing to prove your intentions. Because your job is not to convince anybody to celebrate you. It is to keep expanding even when it confuses them or makes them feel like their shortcomings are now in the spotlight. And real growth and healing are not about building businesses or hitting milestones or making more money or hitting goals. It is about learning to hold success without self-abandonment. It is the emotional shift from seeking permission to standing in self-trust, respect, and value. When you stop needing people to validate your path, you stop mistaking silence for betrayal, you start realizing that peace and isolation aren't the same thing, and that one is a wound and the other is wisdom. And so it's like upgrading your entire operating system while the rest of your circle is still running on an old software. They can't sync, and then that's not your fault. Letting go of those connections is you staying true to who you are. That is clarity. Because some people were never meant to climb the mountain with you. They were meant to walk to base camp, hand you the map, and cheer from the valley. And it takes emotional maturity to stop blaming them for not having the lungs for thinner air. So if you're in that season right now, the space between who you were and who you are becoming, know this: you are not being punished. The loneliness, the isolation is a part of the journey. Be okay sitting in the discomfort. It is temporary. You are going to become somebody that is going to serve you and the life that you've always wanted, and you're going to become who you always needed as a kid. Growth will always naturally filter out what no longer feels right, what no longer fits. And that empty space, that is where alignment begins. You're learning to build relationships that aren't rooted in history, but are rooted in resonance. And people who celebrate your joy without shrinking theirs, people who don't need to understand your journey to honor it, those are the ones who are for you. They're not just with you, they're for you too. When people can't celebrate you, don't shrink to fit their comfort zone. Don't twist yourself into a version that they can digest. Those are survival strategies that you don't need to keep carrying with you anymore. Those were roles that were assigned to you before you had a choice. Now you have a choice. You can do things differently. And it's okay. Not everybody's going to be able to come along with you. You have to get clear on what it is that your growth confronts in them and what their reactions reflect in you. Because your evolution will continue to reveal two truths: who's ready to rise with you and who's only felt safe when you were standing still. And maybe that is the test of alignment, not who claps temporarily for you. So I'll leave you with this question. Are you choosing people who clap for your comfort or people who cheer for your courage?